Thank you, Angela, for agreeing to speak with me today. Given that it's Pride Month, I wonder if I might start by asking you, what does Pride mean to you?
I think Pride means many things, and it often means different things in different years. Everything from celebration of our communities and an opportunity to have fun and be very visible in our organisations and in our communities. I always think there's an element of remembrance for it, of all of the sacrifices of people. I remember watching my first Pride Parade many years ago, which was much smaller, and all of the effort that went in from previous people in our community to earn us the rights we have today. And then I always find it is a real important month to get energy to carry on, keeping focused on improving the rights of our LGBT people all over the world. So yeah, celebration, remembrance, and something that gives you some new energy every year.
Absolutely. And do you think that the message of pride is still relevant today in the UK in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess, I always think about the UK, but also the global context. So, even over the last week or so, there's been much debate about the impact of the consultation on trans rights issues and the Gender Recognition Act. And so, being in support of our trans community, I think, is really important now. I think visibility is hugely important, because we should never forget how easy it is to take away the hard-earned rights that we have. And I do think the more visible we are as a community, the harder it is to demonise us in some way, and that definitely works to create an environment where we're most likely to keep our rights. And then we have a business in countries like where it's really not okay, and the Polish government, we have a Polish business, very busy demonising the gay community. So it's also super important in support of our colleagues and also members of our community in other countries, that this remains a visible bastion of a place where it's okay to be gay and to be open about it. So yeah, I think it's important on so many levels still.
Can I ask you to share with me how you came out, and whether, in your opinion, one ever finishes coming out?
I guess in some ways you never do finish coming out. Every time that I refer to my wife is a small moment of coming out. And part of the reason why I always thought equal marriage was super important is it's almost the easiest way to come out, is just to keep mentioning the fact that you have a girlfriend. It never seemed right as I got older, a wife now. So yeah, I think you regularly come out. I think for me, being on things like the FT outstanding list for many years now, it means that it's slightly less of an issue. Many people who contact me because they've seen that I'm vocal on LGBT rights. But yeah, it's undoubtedly true on a small scale. You come out all the time. In terms of coming out, that was, like many people, a bit of a journey for me. I came out in my early 20s to my family, and that was fairly straightforward once I decided that I was gay and I was going to come out, which took me some time, but much later in work. I spent many years not thinking it was remotely important for my career that people knew about my private life, so I didn't openly come out, and thanks to a nudge from the Aviva Pride community when it was in its infancy, to say that actually I was role modelling it not being okay to be out at Aviva, because small enough numbers of people did know that I was gay. And so yeah, I came out much later in life at work, but it's been a joyous thing to have done, and I'm super happy. That's
great to hear. And can you tell me about your journey to becoming the CEO of Aviva UK Life?
Indeed. So I'm an actuary by profession. So I've come from a very normal working class background in Manchester. So it's been a very interesting journey, learning about business, learning about insurance. I never would have dreamed, if you'd sort of told the 15-year-old me that I could have been a CEO, would never have dreamed of it. So yeah, trained as an actuary, spent many years as a consultant, and then joined Aviva. I'm heading for my 20th anniversary now. And actually for much of my time at Aviva did technical roles. Like many women, I think I valued the technical experience and being in finance. And then I slowly but surely moved from finance roles into risk roles, which really opened up more of the business, understanding everything from operations to sales to finance, and that across the whole piece. Moved to be the group CRO, and then just last year, having spent most of my life talking about pink jobs and blue jobs, and that I'd done a series of blue jobs, pink jobs, so jobs that were more traditionally done by women, that maybe I should put my money where my mouth was and try out one of what I considered to have been blue jobs. And again, it's been great fun being the CEO for the last year.
That's absolutely fantastic to hear. So you're an openly gay female CEO. Has that been a help or a hindrance to acceptance within the boardroom for you?
I think in the boardroom, it's not particularly been an issue in more recent years. I remember my first forays into the boardroom, just being a female was unusual, and I was, it was almost a university male-dominated place. So I've always had some fantastic male allies who've really helped with my career and helped me to learn to be as good as I can possibly be, and introduced me into roles that gave me board experience. But it's undoubtedly true that it felt, whilst I didn't feel discouraged joining the board, it felt uncomfortable being in those positions, and it's been great in more recent times to see particularly more women around the board tables. And there's that old research that says you need 3 of something different for things to start to feel different, and I definitely think in recent years there have been enough women around the table to change how boards feel. As far as being gay, I think it's been fine around the board table. Actually, it was my acceptance of my own identity and that being important within the organisation, which held me back as much as board acceptance. And once I'd crossed that line, I've only seen positives really from being out in the workplace.
Given the fights for equality for gay people over the years and the recent Black Lives Matter movement, can you tell me about the importance of inclusion and diversity within your teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is hugely important, and I think as a gay community, now is our time to stand up for some other communities who are going through many of the things that we felt over the years. And I've always felt that the minorities, it's really hard if you're a minority to change the world. Actually, it's the strength of the allies you have in the community. So I would say I've always had many straight male allies who've really helped my career and helped me. And I think the gay community need to be allies to our Black community at the moment to really understand what it feels like to be supportive, to help create change for our Black colleagues, but also to be more accepting in our own community. And I think you need to look at yourself and sort out what's going on in your community as well. And so I think there's a huge amount of work for us to do in the gay community or the LGBT community to support our Black colleagues. And then in general, I mean, I've been a CRO for many years, and as a CRO, I spent a lot of time thinking about how you make good decisions and how you minimise risk in organisations, and came to a conclusion very early on in my risk world that actually the most diverse team that you could have can be really difficult to manage. Can be, you can have all sorts of dysfunctions in your team, but actually at the end of the day, if you can harness that diversity and get really different perspectives, people who think differently, people who can have a proper debate with each other and then come to a conclusion, actually that's the best way to have great decisions made. So and you can't afford to miss a part of the community when you're thinking about diversity. You can't afford to not be looking everywhere for people who are adding value into your organisation.
Is the asset management and insurance industry as inclusive and diverse as you would like? And if not, in what areas do you think we could do better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting there. Would be my conclusion, particularly in London. I mean, I think London is a hugely diverse, multicultural city, and I think that is benefiting those organisations who want to embrace that. But I think it does take time for that diversity to work its way properly into the system, in the same way that it's taken 2 generations for women to really feel accepted and as women in our organisations. I think that diversity takes a while to come through, and I'm not patient on that, so I think we need to do as much as we can to try and accelerate that diversity coming into our organisations and do more, and whether that's in our recruitment processes, within our talent management processes, or actually within our leaders accepting that it's not a job that HR do for you, it's something that you do in your teams to get the most diverse set of people in your teams. And I think making it everyone's day job every single day to figure out how to get the most diverse set of people in their team, and to spend time understanding what it's like to be black in the UK, to be Asian in the UK, to be trans in the UK, to be gay, to be non-binary, to be all of those things, so that you can make your organisation somewhere where it feels like we will make mistakes from time to time, we will use the wrong terminology from time to time, but it's never done in a way that's because we are not thinking really hard about those issues. So I think there's plenty more for us to do, but I do see progress.
You've spoken before about the importance of visible role models. I wondered whether you had any openly gay role models earlier in your career. I
didn't. I think not a single one, I would say, and that's a really sad memory to have of sort of the 20-year-old me 30 years ago. But to be honest, I probably didn't have that many female role models back then as well. I had some great role models, some people with great values, great integrity, things that I have tried to live up to throughout the whole of my career. But no, they weren't out. Some of them I now know were gay, but they weren't gay role models back then, and it's a really sad thing. I had fantastic allies, and I think to everybody who's not gay, if you're not black, actually thinking about how you can help those communities is the most important thing you can do. Because if we can't see ourselves there, at least we know that there's an opportunity for ourselves to be there. That the 20-year-old me would have thought that I could have been an openly out gay woman CEO. I mean, we weren't even on telly when I was 20. There were no gay characters in soaps. There was nothing out there for you to aspire to. So the world has changed, and that's a fantastic thing. And I hope that I make my small contribution to that by being sort of very open about my being gay as a CEO.
Over the past 12 weeks, many of us have been working from home due to the pandemic. What impact do you think that's had on the gay community within the workforce?
That's a very good question. I think in our Aviva Pride community is actually pulled together quite nicely. I think we're really missing Pride. That's one of our big events in the year, and it brings everybody together, and we talk a lot about it, and we get together and we do planning, and I think we've really missed that. I think the LGBT workforce is probably struggling as much as everybody else in how to figure out how to look after your kids and manage your work-life balance and do all of the stuff. I think that's to some extent the same as everybody else. But I do think our community has a higher proportion of people who are at risk, either from mental health issues, homelessness, and all of those sorts of things. And I think that the impact on our community is something which adds a sort of a burden of sadness to us as we see many of the charities that that support homeless LGBT people really struggling for funds and stuff as we go through this. So I think we've had to work doubly hard to try and help support the communities during this time.
Finally, going back to where we began, so Global Pride is on June 27th. How will you be celebrating Pride this year, given that there'll be no parade?
Yeah, well, I've already had some Pride celebrations. So I actually live in York, and York Pride is normally at the beginning of June. So a group of us put our rainbows on and had a socially distanced picnic in the park on the day that would have been Pride, in the rain, as is also tradition, because it always seems to rain on Pride in York. So I think we can still get out there in our own small way, celebrate Pride. Within Aviva, we've created a Pride at Home video with everybody supporting all of their rainbows at home, and we're running webinars and having all sorts of events to mark Pride this year. So yeah, the LGBT community is never short of excuses to try and get together and celebrate Pride. It's just the rest of the world might not see us quite so much this year, and so I think we'll be doubling down next year for sure.
Angela, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.